guys, hey! Welcome to another episode of In Your Own Words, hosted by me, Pia, brought to you by Common Sense and Radical. Today we've got a brilliant guest on, Mike Omoniyi.
Hey guys, hey!
Hey! We've got a really brilliant episode for you today about echo chambers. And Mike has been describing echo chambers to me. So for my beautiful, wonderful audience, I'm going to pass on to Mike straight away to get him to describe what is an echo chamber. We're going to go straight in today, guys.
Okay.
Straight in.
Well, thanks for having me on the podcast, first and foremost. I've been loving listening to these. I think you've done a brilliant job. It's been really entertaining, fun. Edutainment, I think is the term. It's educational and entertaining. You heard it here first, folks. No, so what are echo chambers? Well, echo chambers are basically, it's quite literal. Chambers where you hear echoes. These are what we may call enclaves that we all live in, where we find people who look like us, who sound like us, who believe what we believe, who maybe have the same views as us, and we assert ourselves, and we find ourselves comfortable being in that mixture. So when someone says to live in an echo chamber, essentially what we're saying is they live or they exist in a place where most of their friends mirror their core beliefs and mirror their thoughts as well.
That's really interesting. Sorry, that sounded really fake. That's really interesting.
You're like,
no,
this is great. Oh, God.
No, it is. It's really interesting because in psychology, we talk a lot about this whole identity and that there's like 3 stages, and I can't specifically remember the stages now, so don't ask me. I will find out for you guys one day. But there's that core belief of we gravitate towards people that look like us, that think like us, that act like us. And it's easier to go into a group where you know you're all the same. And I feel like that's interesting because you're right. It's how far do we get down that path where we think, okay, maybe we're too alike, or where you want to break away, or where those tribes go up against each other just because they don't fit your identity.
Yeah. I probably should introduce myself first because I think some people listening may not know who I am. I shouldn't take that for granted.
Yeah. Sorry, yes. Let's give a bit of an introduction.
Yeah.
From Mike.
Well, I just thought I should just tell them in case they're just thinking, who's Mike? And why is he just telling me about echo chambers? But
why is he here? Sorry. Do you know what?
We're so excited about
First time podcaster over here.
No. I'm not even trying to like suggest it. I'm just saying, just to give a bit of context, if you like, so people get why this is of interest to me. So my name is Mike, MT, whatever you feel comfortable calling me, and I'm the editor-in-chief for the Common Sense Network, or what's now called Common Sense. And what we try and do is bring people out of echo chambers. So we're really built on this idea of, can people who don't see eye to eye, can people who have different perspectives, can they come out and learn from each other? So that's my area of interest. It's been my area of interest since I did my undergraduate degree, I did my master's degree, I started a PhD in this very issue of echo chambers and things of that nature. So, the question you're asking, though, is very fascinating. This idea of, well, when does an echo chamber become problematic, right? That's kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, where does it become, where you get too far down the line where you think, okay, maybe I'm in a group that is too similar, or a group that is so similar that they want to go up against other groups, and then it causes boundaries to form, I suppose, or like, they almost can't integrate, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
It's really hard. The truth is, if I had the answer, I'd be very rich, wouldn't I? Because the truth of the matter is...
It'd be very easy, this episode.
Yeah, I'd be like, here are the 3 ways you can make sure you live a perfect, balanced life. And no one knows, really. I think it all starts when you're young, doesn't it? You're walking, if you guys can remember, you're walking around the playground, and you're looking for people who share your interest, because it's just more fun. Playtime is more fun when you're around people who like climbing the jungle gym, or like playing football, or like, playing rounders, whatever it is. And that's where it begins, this innocent pursuit of people who look like you, who sound like you, because it's just easy to assert yourself in that. Of course, that's not problematic, and the kids left alone to their devices, that's what they would do. Now, fast forward a bit, when you get older, you do the same thing at work, of course, and the issue becomes when all of your life is filled with, you looking for people who are just like you you get a very narrow view of the world. You know, you get a very, if you're a Christian, he only has Christian friends, well, you're going to have a certain perspective. So really, it's when you get a bit older that it starts to become a problem, because then you're not exposed to a really big part of the world, because you've in many parts closed yourself up from people who aren't like you, and then you start to demonize them. Then you start to make
they can never be part of us.
Exactly, but also you just start to make caricatures of them. You kind of go, that group, that's what they do. You know, we spoke about it before. I mean, you've been talking about this with your guests. Yeah. It all starts from there, and so I don't know when it becomes problematic, but I do suspect when people get older, that's when they start to see the real effects of kind of what's called homogeneous consumption, where they only eat speak to people who are just like them.
I think it's don't get me wrong, it's a very easy thing to do. It's a very easy thing to look at people that are your same community, same ethnicity, same, everything, like religious views, and then to want to gravitate towards them because you're all the same. But I would say my biggest takeaway, and I did mention this in my first session, my first episode, where I was talking about like events in my life that have changed me. And I would say my friend group are all very different in terms of their beliefs, their looks, their religious views, but we all get along, and they're the reason why I am so open-minded today. If I was stuck with the same group, with the same thinking pattern, I would not be who I am today. I would be a very closed-minded person, and I wouldn't have, I would say, an accurate view of the world.
Well, do you have any strong views, out of curiosity? Are there any views that you're kind of like, this is a really strong, kind of like red line view for me?
I've been thinking about this a lot, and like whether I'm political and things like that. I think I'm open to a lot of views, unless ones that are like overtly, I suppose, like racist or like really disgusting. I think I am open to a lot of views, and I don't think I'm too hardcore with what I think. If there is someone that can be persuaded or swayed, it is me. If you give me a good point, I can take away. I think I used to, when I was younger, be a bit more resistant. I used to want to be right all the time, as anyone does. I used to want to be right. I would never ever change my mindset. Yeah. But I think now that I've grown up, I've realized I can't always be right about these things. If somebody's got a good point, I'm going to take that and I'm going to understand it, because what do I gain from being right as such? I have nothing to gain. All I have is
it feels
a closed-minded
good.
view.
Like it's nice.
Yeah, it feels good for a bit, but I know that I'm wrong inside. So all I'm doing is I've got some sort of pride, but is that worth it? Is it worth it to have that, like the payoff there? If I just said to myself and to the other person, actually, your view is right, I understand it, I feel like that can open up a different conversation and a more light-hearted conversation. It's not just two people butting heads.
This is interesting because, I get what you're saying, and I think, there's a part of it that's really good, this idea that you're not closed-minded. I mean, no one would want to be described as closed-minded. It's almost, universally a bad thing. However, as people do grow older, they do develop strong views, right? So literally, it could be over something stupid like, what type of cheese is the best cheese? Yeah. And there's people who are very, very, very strong on that, right? I think it's Edam. Some folks think
cheddar.
It's cheddar. Yeah, but
I definitely think it's
children
cheddar.
Children like cheddar. I'm not saying you're a child, but I'm just...
I love cheddar. I can't bash cheddar. I think it is the best cheese.
But it's also like the introductory cheese. It's kind of
like okay, I'll give you that. No, but it's only the introductory cheese in this country though, because if you go to France, it's not there.
Very true. But for the UK context, folks who aren't really cheese aficionados, they were like, "Oh, I love cheddar."
Cheddar's the best. That's what I'll say.
Well, I disagree. but there you go. Should we have friendship groups, not where people have different views, but where we disagree openly and where that's okay? I think in the UK, most people, and sounds like a big generalization, but it is backed up by data. Most people aren't confrontational. We have a kind of under the rug, door shut, tight upper lip, kind of public culture. We do speak. We just don't do it to each other's faces.
Oh yeah, it's true what they say about the British. It's a very that whole non-confrontational, you just like almost like simmer. It simmers within you. If you're angry about something like politics is not table talk, things like that. You steer away from it in any sort of situation most of the time, unless I suppose your family. Most people would say stay away from like politics conversations.
Of course, it ruins dinner. So what would happen is my mum's like if she's listening, I'm not selling my mum out here. But one thing she's very good at is, looking out the window, and when she wants to say something, she then shuts the window, pulls the curtains, and then says what she really thinks.
Oh, we have that. I have my cousin that's like, they're listening. Who? Who's listening? Who are you thinking is listening to this conversation? And again, that exact thing though, we have that in my family household where if my mum's listening to this, I love you. But where they'll be like, oh, like the neighbours are listening. But what are they gonna say? Like, this is my opinion. What are they gonna do? Are they gonna have a bad view of me, identity of me? Like, don't speak to them anyway.
Yeah,
so. It's not too bad.
When I bring my mum, it gets so interesting. But you do make a very, or the question I'm asking, it is a kind of really serious one, which is, so at the Common Sense Network, at Common Sense, we've got this big desire to introduce people who don't see eye to eye. Issue is, though, if you tell me, Mike, would you rather have 3 friends who you guys have a cup of tea, you have a mild chat, and you get along, or would you rather have 3 adversarial friends where you're just debating all the time, you're arguing all the time? People would probably pick the former, and say that I don't want to fight with my friends all the time.
It's easy.
It's easier, right? But the issue is, it's also really problematic if you only have friends that agree with you. So I often feel like a mother, right, trying to convince, their children to take medicine, because what we're advocating doesn't feel good. It's not fun to like have a Trump supporter as a friend, right? No one probably would want that, but it is ultimately better for you in terms of your human flourishing to be around people who challenge you, who see the world through different lenses, and who will offer you perspectives that you just have no access to whatsoever. The issue becomes, to what degree is your friend made up of people like that? And then to what degree is it made up of people who are kind of like, passive and will take whatever you say and just kind of leave it as gospel? How do you get that balance? That's the real difficulty.
I 100% agree with you there. I think we're finding the balance because sometimes you just want those friends where you have trivial conversation with, where you talk about nothing for a good few hours and you don't feel bad because there's no arguments. You're just having a nice trivial conversation. But then sometimes you're right, like it can get a little bit boring. Like, you want to have a good debate. You want to have a good conversation. You want to talk about world events and things like that. And I think I've come to the conclusion now, I agree with you, that having friends that
I haven't said anything yet.
No, the conclusion of like, it's almost beneficial to have the Trump supporter, this sounds weird, like I've never had friends that are outwardly conservative, and like I've come to university now and I have a couple, and to hear their views on things, at first I would just bash them, I would go up against them. But actually, now that we're having really in-depth conversation, now that we're getting to know each other and we're having conversation where no one bashes each other, it's just an open discussion.
Yeah.
I've actually understood a lot of where they're coming from, and I don't go against it as such. Like I understand, and I feel like there's this whole thing of being liberal these days, of being young and like Labour and all of this, but actually it's I've seen so many different views nowadays, and my mind has completely changed.
Yeah.
I'm still Labour, but
okay. Well, that's you just outed yourself, but that's
should I?
No. It's good. I mean, unless you're looking for a job from the Conservative Party, you should be okay. But you know what's so interesting about all of this is, when I speak to people about politics, and let's be honest, politics is like, it's probably less interesting than like talking about death for some people, because they're just like, I'd rather hear your uncle died than me and you talk about Jeremy Corbyn or Keir Starmer, who like has, I think, the personality of porridge or something. He's just like just so bland. And you've got Boris Johnson, who like, so people are just tired of politics, right? However, one thing people do say is the political climate is just too hot. Like, it's just too hot. There's a lot of arguments. You switch on PMQs, which is Prime Minister's Questions. There's this spectacle, really, where the Prime Minister gets asked questions by other members of Parliament every Wednesday. And you switch it on, and it's just people arguing. It's just people shouting, making weird jokes like, "Oh, you jolly old dolphin," and they're laughing. And you're thinking, what is this? This is too much? So people know that the political climate we have now is way too heated, and everyone's thinking, well, how do we cool things down? How do we bring people together? How do we? And let's be honest, no one has the answer, right? But I do think the way we do it, it starts with our friendship groups. We have to make a concerted effort to say, even though it may not be immediately beneficial to me, if I'm black, I'm gonna actually reach out to white people. If I'm Labour, as you're saying, I'm gonna try and understand. There's this movement, never kiss a Tory, and people are like, oh, never touch a Tory. We need less of that, man.
I think it's that whole thing, that the key word that I got from what you just said was understanding, because you can disagree. Unity. You know what? Unity.
You need to have a jar
not
where you
unity
put a
this
pound
time.
in every time someone says unity.
I don't think it's unity this time, so I'm going to take that out. No pound is going in the jar. I don't have a pound to give. I'm a student. I've got to keep every single one that I can. But it's understanding, because it's so easy for someone to be defensive and be like straight away, I disagree with your point, I don't like it. But once you put your barriers down, once you actually think, like, where you understand what they're trying to say, you can still, no one's saying you can't disagree with it. You can disagree with it.
Absolutely.
But just understand where they're coming from, because they might have a good point, and you might actually think in your head, like, okay, this makes sense why you think that. As well, you can't, everybody grows up in such different circumstances that if someone does have a different political view, or just a political view or societal view or religious view, it makes sense. Some of it makes sense why they are that way, and you can't bash them for growing up in that environment and feeling like this party or person or opinion supports them, because that's what they know.
Did you see the recent Malala Yousafzai news?
No.
So I don't know if her name is Malala Yousafzai, but I know that her it's something kind of around that. I may be wrong. And what happened was, I mean, the story is ridiculous in and of itself, because it's just someone it's just a misunderstanding. But there is something to take from it.
So many things are.
Yeah. I mean, literally, it happened on Twitter. So there you go.
Oh, okay.
But she's a Nobel Peace Prize winning girl. She's 23 years old. She's actually friends with people that I know, and she got shot by the Taliban. Trying to get educated, trying to go to school. She's since launched the Malala Fund, which is this massive, fund that champions women's education. A young girl who literally was shot in the face by the Taliban, and somehow was able to turn her life around and really, inspire, I want to say, millions of girls all around the world, if not more. Now, she has friends, because she studied PP at Oxford, I believe. I think she just graduated, or she's graduating soon. And on Twitter, or on Facebook, her friend, who's running to become the president of the Oxford Conservative Society, she put up a status basically supporting her friend, saying, hey guys, my friend's running to be president of the Conservative Society. My friend's a hard worker. She works really hard. You support her, guys. She even put a disclaimer at the end, like, this does not reflect my personal views. I'm just...
Was that up for...
Well, she said, I'm supporting my friend who works really hard. On Twitter, when I checked it, there was something like 20,000 tweets. People all around the world. She needs to be cancelled. She's right wing. What? She's friend. I saw someone tweet, anyone who has right wing friends is right wing, and people are like, this is just disgusting. I can't believe she's right wing. And I thought, well, one, she's not right wing. She's literally said this doesn't reflect my present views. But if we got to a place in our political culture where even associating with people who have different beliefs is seen as failing this weird moral purity test that some people have erected that no one can pass. I mean, if I buy milk, because we heard that, I think Oatly Milk sponsors some right-wing party or something like that, and people are like, oh, if you drink that milk,
you're also in the wrong,
or
you're a terrible person.
Surely this is a problem that we're celebrating, not talking to people who disagree with you.
And it goes back to, as well, what you touched on there, cancel culture. Cancel culture is such a pain. But you know what? That was the first thing I thought of, a pain. Every day, someone gets cancelled for a view or someone else's view or something that they've commented on or haven't commented on. That's the thing. Like, we so badly want, almost like, it's almost like we want celebrities or people of power to voice like just one opinion and that's it. And if they don't, or if they do, it's like one of those double-edged sword. If they do voice their opinion, then they're in the wrong. If they don't, then they're in the wrong because they didn't voice it.
Well, you know, this story's even slightly different because she didn't actually voice any opinion.
Yeah, she didn't.
Just the fact that she had a conservative friend, people had a problem with. And I think it's a shocking indictment on where we are as a community or as a young... Because it was mainly young people tweeting. Of course, there's the odd old troll who's like, oh, you should have been shot. And there was all these other things that I saw. But the crazy thing, and why I think it's relevant to what we're talking about here, is you need to talk to people who disagree with you. That's literally how you're going to rebuild the world. Some of the biggest problems we're trying to face in the world, solve in the world, things like climate change, things like depleting coal resources, things like, you know, the increasing food wastage in the UK. Like, did you know that the UK, the whole of the UK is fed by 3/4 of the food produced in the UK? A quarter of the food produced in the UK is wasted. As in, it's thrown in the bin, or we lose it through problems with shelf life and stuff like that. If we rearranged ourselves properly, we could feed about 15 million people in Africa with the food that we waste in the UK. These are really difficult issues. The idea that people think all these difficult issues will be solved in silos really confuse me. You've got to reach out and speak to people who disagree with you. But when 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds are losing their minds because Malala Yousaf may have a right-wing friend, matters. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this where we are? You're losing. People are like, oh my God, I can't believe it. What, you can't believe that she has something in common with someone who voted for Boris Johnson? Give me a break. Where are we in society if this is what we're talking about? It does grind my gears, but there you go.
Let me see the fire from Mike there when he's talking about it. No, do you know what? It is a very... I've spoken to so many friends recently about this topic of cancel culture, and they all have the same opinions on it. It's just so long. That's all I can say. It's so long. It's just like someone new every single day over some trivial matter. We've got bigger issues that is going on all the time in this life, but we're so focused on little things that actually we can't do anything to change. And at the end of the day as well, what you said about we need people that have the same sort of opinions. Different opinions. Of course we do. That's how we grow as a person. That's how we can use their opinions and you can form something together. Unity.
Oh, there it is.
Unity. There, I'll put a pound.
By the way,
imaginary pound.
We don't have a pound. We don't have the jar right now, but I absolutely mean it. Yeah. So I'm gonna need
I'm gonna put fake money in though. If anybody wants
I want fake money. We want real money because what we're gonna do is we're gonna give that money to charity. Look, everyone's angry now. Everyone in the room's like, oh gosh, no.
No, I'm all for charity. I just the student charity right now. Okay, I am the charity.
This narrative about students being poor, I'm sorry. You get thousands of pounds deposited into your account, right, which you've done nothing for every few months. You cannot, it's the same thing as some student.
Yeah, but I'm paying for my housing and everything.
Yeah.
And do you know food is so expensive? Can I just say to everyone, before I came to uni, I did not understand how much a shop was.
Give me a break. Not only are there...
I want to eat good.
So that's the problem. You want to eat good. One, there are student discounts for everything.
Oh my God, it's 10%.
The way students are so entitled. I remember telling one of them, they were like, one said, I need a new iPhone. And I was like, okay, yeah, maybe they have an iPhone 6. They want a 7. No, he wants the 12 Pro, the new one, right? And I was like, right. And then he was like, yeah, but there's no discounts. This is ridiculous. And I thought, hold on a minute. You're a student. What do you need an iPhone 12 Pro for, right? Number one, right? And number two, what makes you think you must get a discount? And it takes me back to a student I was speaking to who was like, I said, I gave him a task to do. He was like, I don't have time. I'm a student. And I thought that's literally a paradox. It's an oxymoron. You literally have all the time in the world because all you're doing is flipping watching Netflix, right? But again, the problem here is
I can tell you I'm stressed out already. It's week 2 of uni for me. I'm already stressed.
What's stressing you out? All the travel time between you and the Zoom lectures you have, or what is it?
I didn't have funny story. I didn't have Wi-Fi in my apartment for a week.
No,
I messaged you this. No.
Wi-Fi.
It was hard.
No.
Because now that everything's online, I had to go sleep over at my friends to do to get up at 8:30 in the morning to do my lecture, to come back, and you need Wi-Fi for everything. For everything.
So literally, you just described traveling somewhere and coming back as a lot of work.
No, but it was like, I have my bus app on my phone and I need like either Wi-Fi or data from it, but I was using my data in the house, so I had to check my emails. And
all those student emails,
it doesn't sound like a struggle. It doesn't sound like a struggle. It was a struggle, okay? I'm not having this. It was a struggle. I was very stressed.
This is why it's good to have people who disagree coming together to learn from each other, because I can't lie to you. I just think students, because I was a student for a long time. They're just a joke. I mean, I think students are literally, and I'm so glad I went to uni, because if I didn't go to uni, I reckon I would be one of those people that my children will try and be like, I would call them and be like, I'm in the library, Dad. And I'm like, it's the second week of uni. What are you revising for? People are telling me that someone told me the other day that they're busy revising. I said, for what? The course has just started. So like, stop lying to me.
I would like everyone to know I shouldn't say this because my mum might listen to this.
No, say it.
I was going to say I'm 2 weeks behind and I started 2 weeks ago. How am I 2 weeks behind?
So you haven't started.
No, I have.
If you're 2 weeks behind.
Mum, if you're listening to this, Mum and Dad, if you're listening to this, I have definitely started. I've just been preoccupied with other things at the same time, but I've definitely started.
If you're 2 weeks behind and uni started 2 weeks ago, you haven't started.
I was behind the first day. The first time I had seminars, I was behind the first day. No, I attended both my seminars. I'm a good student. I would like everyone to know.
But one more thing I might add, just because I know we're kind of approaching wrap-up time, is like, away from, to solve the world's big problems, we need people to come out of echo chambers. I actually think it really personally enriches your life as well, which is something you spoke about. I grew up, in an echo chamber. I went to a boys-only school in Southeast London called Woolwich Polytechnic School for Boys. I was a sports guy. That's kind of all I cared about. Like, I just saw the world through the lens of sport. Lad. Not so much gym, it's just, sport. And I had to gym to go to the sport, but to play sport. But that's it. And the thought of hanging around with like science guys was like, no. And it really was like that High School Musical kind of, stick to the stuff, Remember that where, when everyone's like in their own little kind of, echo chamber, really.
Yeah.
Or where the music heads and where the cool ones, whatever. And
were you the cool one?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was very cool. Yes, of course. But the point is, as I've gone on through life and as I've studied a bit more these issues, I've made a more concerted effort to say, I want to reach out to people who don't look like me. And I cannot tell you, just in the past, say 5 or 6 years, the growth I've gone on dwarfs like my whole life. Just by meeting people from different religions, from different cultural kind of practices, different political persuasions. I used to be very, very left-wing, socialist, or even to call it. Until I started listening to people, and I just like, actually, that is a bit problematic. And you just start to realize there's just a massive part of life you're missing out on. So I don't want it to be some kind of intellectual thing like echo chambers are bad, step out of it if you like. No, it's your life will be made immeasurably better by just understanding that the solution to the world's problems won't come from your head, and someone else may know something you don't know.
It goes back to that whole thing of like stories and knowledge, and my eyes have been open to so many different people and stereotypes that I did have, because I did definitely have them for a lot of different groups. Have definitely been broken for me while at uni, doing like various things like working, volunteering, all of these different things that I'm doing. Has led me to groups of people that I would have never imagined speaking to before, never talking to before. I think it goes back for me, like, if there's one thing I would say to everyone, if they have the chance, take up any volunteering experience that you can, because that is where I have found the most interesting people and people that have taught me so much in life, I think, and changed my perspective on the world and like just the world. They've just changed my perspective, opened my eyes to so many more cultures and people and situations and what people want from life. Again, like I mentioned my internship at the YMCA, which is a youth housing organization, a Christian one, and they have taught me so much about young people and about what they want and how they are just so similar to everyone. And the portrayal, and they're just one group of people that have taught me so much. But on that note, to like sort of wrap it up, I would say I agree with you 100% about the whole getting out of your echo chambers. If there's one last comment that I could make, is that it's not even individual people. If you have a group and you think you're stuck in an echo chamber and you're all the same sort of people, find another group, mix with them. You don't have to just be an individual and go. It can be a couple of you. You can find different groups of people together and all mix, and you'll find different opinions. You'll find different life stories that will open your eyes. There'll be such stark differences, but you'll see the similarities at the same time. It's not just differences. There's so many similarities. But yeah, if there's one thing that I hope you guys take away from the conversation is to, I would say, open yourselves up a little bit more to experiencing new people and new opinions. Just maybe form new friendships. You never know what you're going to find. That's the thing. If you don't like it, you don't like it, but you tried. You're not closed-minded. But yeah, thank you very much
for having me.
For Mike, for being on today. It's been a really good episode, and I hope you guys have really enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you did. And I hope that we have more brilliant content for you next time. But for tonight, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, bye.
Hey, thank you for taking time to watch that video. Here at the Commentators Network, we thrive on exposing you to different ideas. If you're someone who likes ideas, you like learning new things, hit the subscribe button now and turn on notifications so you're first to hear when we have a new video out.